All right. Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I'm your host, Vinay, with my co host, Raj. Raj, it has been a while. I want to say it's been about a month. We had a nice
Mhm,
break with no news as it relates to Lakers basketball. We did get some news here and there from other people's podcasts and just some news that dropped recently from the Lakers, too, as well. But it's been a very hot August in
mhm.
California. It's been a very hot past 2 weeks. Things are on fire. Not freeways, but forests are on fire. It's like 115 degrees everywhere. Nobody wants to have to go outside if they don't want to. And I've been trying to make the best of it as much as
Mhm.
possible. So before we get into the Lakers chat, my friend, you have been in and out of California, traveling on work
Ugh,
and business and staying busy. How have you been?
I am good. Yeah, I've been so detached from Lakers news and all that stuff. I've been kind of just decompressing before the season starts. I saw that football started. Congrats to
Yeah.
the people who watched that. I see the Dodgers, I guess, are playing well as well. Don't really watch those games either, but good luck, I guess, to them. No, it's been good. Been just working out, relaxing. Been busy going to Sparks games. I know you attended one as well.
Yes.
Being to cover that was very cool, and just being a media member there. So I'll tell a quick Spark story I thought
Yeah.
was funny. I got to experience when you go in the media. I've never like sat actually courtside, right? So I'm like, I go around Vinay, so I get there early to watch Sabrina Ionescu warm up, right? So I'm like there to watch her. Sabrina's an Olympian, like maybe the best basketball shoes ever currently, and I'm asking a bunch of security guards like, has she warmed up? Has she warmed up? They're like, we have no idea. I have no idea. I was like, you don't know if Sabrina has warmed up yet? And so I finally see her like come out and start shooting. And so I asked my actual friend Sabrina, I'm like, hey, can I go sit courtside? She's like, yeah, you can go sit there. It's like, you sure they're not gonna pull me away or anything? Like, no. So I go and sit over there and watch her warm up, which is a really cool experience. But yeah, just been doing that, man. Getting ready. The season starts, I think, in like 35, 40 days, if I
Yes.
have that correct?
Yes.
Did you know, Vinay, they have no preseason games in crypto?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I mean,
0.
I've never gone to attend them, so I've never actually looked to see whether they're home and away. I do know, Raj, that when they posted about uh the season coming up, there was a lot of quote tweets, just
Oh, yeah,
sarcastically not being excited for it. But no,
right.
I didn't know that. That's a little bit of a shocker that there's
Yeah, they have
no.
games in Palm Springs. It was like a ritual of mine to like go
Yeah,
to the first preseason game every year, and yeah, no preseason. I mean, it's in Palm Springs, which is that much farther for me in terms of where we live,
yeah,
but yeah, no preseason games in crypto. So you're gonna have to wait till the actual regular season starts, which I don't know who they're opening again. But yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty much been it, man. Excited to kind of warm up here as the season gets started.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. Say things have been pretty quiet on this end, just playing more basketball. It's summertime, so we're going to the swimming pool every other day.
Mm.
My older one has soccer practice and soccer games, so we've been doing that when it's not, Mordor outside and everything's on fire. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, I recently went to a Sparks game. We went to the Chicago Sky Sparks game, and
Mm.
I have a story from that I really want to share. So me and a couple of my buddies, we all have daughters, and so we decided to take our girls. We tried to find a date to do it, so we did. There was like one Saturday because you can't do it too late in the evening because it's a school night. Something that ends up being too much role. So long story short, we go on this Saturday game against Chicago, and Raj, I was shocked at how many Angel Reese fans there are,
Oh
and how
yeah.
many LSU fans there are. I would imagine it's everywhere, but that game there was a lot of LSU jerseys, especially that were there. But that's not the main story. So there's about 5 or 6 of us, and we all brought our daughters and stuff like that. So before the game, the girls they know they're going to the game. They make signs, and we're from LA, so obviously we're supporting the home team, and so I helped my daughter make a what's it called, a sign that basically said, for Rakia Jackson, who's the Sparks rookie for the folks that don't know. She's a really great player. I think she can be even better than what she has been her rookie year. The Sparks just have to figure some things out before they can actually get her to where she needs to be. So we make a sign that basically says, Rakia, if you score more than 10 points, I think she averages like 11. If you score more than
Mhm.
10 points, then we get candy. And then we made that sign so that the girls could hold it up. And we had some pretty decent seats for where we were sitting. I don't know if she would have seen it, but it would have been cool. So we get to the arena, we get to crypto, and we're walking in, and the sign's really not that big. Like you're talking about like an 8-year-old girl holding the sign, so it's not that big.
Mhm.
And the security folks, not their fault at all. We didn't know the rules. They're like, well, you can't bring the sign in because the sign is too big. And we were like,
Mm.
they're just kids. It's a Saturday. Just, are you okay with it? And they're like, sorry, it's policy or whatever. So I was like, oh, shoot. So the girls are a little bummed out. So I took a picture of it. I take a picture of it and I posted it on my Instagram, and I tagged Rakia in it,
Mm.
and I made an Instagram story and I shared it. And then that's it. We go through the game. The girls, they also had like smaller signs that said like future NBA or WNBA All Star, and they had like
Mm.
arrows pointing down at themselves. So they got on like the main camera at the game. So that
Mhm.
was cool. So they enjoyed that at all. But after the game, Raj, so Rakia scored 13 points. And in my message on Instagram, I put, uh, "My girls are counting on you," and tagged Rakia. She reposted the story on her Instagram and said, "Get my girls their candy." After she scored 13, and I showed it to my daughter and her friends. And Raj, when I tell you, like, I mean, you don't have kids, but it's like how happy they were to know that she responded back to them.
Yeah.
Like after they just watched a game, the Sparks lost, by the way. It was a close game. They lost towards the end.
Mhm.
And to see like a person that they see on TV, and then see them in person, and then to know that that person acknowledged them was pretty awesome. And like they couldn't think of anything else other than the fact that she responded back to them. So I wanted to share that story because I wanted to shout. And I'll probably clip this out and share this with the timeline. I wanted to thank Rakia Jackson because those 6 girls that saw that message, I don't know what will happen with them in the future. Hopefully, great things. But a small interaction like that can change the complexion of
Oh,
how they
yeah.
see women's sports, how they see all that sort of stuff. And now my daughter asked me, and we might actually try to go. The season's almost over, but we might try to go to the Storm game. We're recording this on a Tuesday. I might take her to the Storm game on Wednesday. But now she's interested in it. Like these
Yeah.
kind of, and I think that's awesome, And I think when I kind of zoom out about it, um, when we talk about basketball, and we're going to talk about the Lakers today, when we talk about basketball, like this stuff, like when the Lakers are bad, it bothers us. When the Lakers are good, it improves our lives. And I think a lot of the people who watch the show or listen to the pod, they feel the same way. And
Oh, yeah.
obviously, it might not change the complexion of our lives, but it certainly changes the complexion of our moods at the end of the day. We'd love to see
Mhm.
Laker wins at 10:30 at night or 1 o'clock at night for our East Coast fans. So I just want to share that story because I thought Rakia, what Rakia did, she didn't have to do that. And I thought that it was really awesome that she did that. And I hope more um, women's players, more female players, like do stuff like that, especially for those for girls, because I think it's great for the game. And the WNBA is blowing up, so
It
I thought that was really awesome. I wanted
it
to share that.
it is. Angel Reese has a lot to do with that. Rikia, by the way, been balling, like absolutely balling, double figures, I believe, in 12 of her last 13 games. To your point, real quick about for girls coming and watching games, it's shocking to me that they don't sell out. Like they
Yeah,
have every night, they have one or two, basketball teams come by. Renee, it's Los Angeles. You know how many girls basketball teams there are? Like they should be filling that arena out with tickets, handing them out. I think there's something with the marketing that's going wrong, but that's an awesome story. I think more people should come out to Sparks games. The prices are super cheap
super
and
cheap.
yeah,
Yes.
very affordable. You can come in and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. We can come in and kind of sit in whichever seats you would
Yeah.
prefer if they're open. So it's a very nice event. The DJ is awesome.
I was
Very
about to say the DJ was like the second funny. Like he was hilarious the whole night.
oh
Just the music
he's
he was
awesome.
playing.
It's funny because
And
like when they get down like 20 or 25, the arena just turns into a karaoke. Like he
yeah,
just like he'll play it while the game is going on. He does
yeah,
not care. He'll just have karaoke going. So no,
yeah.
it's a really cool and
And
fun
then
event. They put
he's
this
playing music or he's playing jokes when people miss free throws and stuff like
oh
that. I was just
yeah,
like, this guy's funny,
he's
man.
he's super hus. They play the Storm tomorrow, and then they have one more home game against the Storm on Sunday actually,
Yeah,
and then that closes out the home games for the season. We locked in the number one pick,
that's what we
Renee.
want.
Well, I mean, the number one odds for the number one
odds for
pick.
the number
So
one pick. Yeah.
on number pick. So hopefully, they win in and get Page. But no, that's dope, man. I think more people should come out to Sparks games.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So Raj, let's transition to the Lakers. There
Oof.
hasn't been a ton of news to sort of gripe about or celebrate, but there has been some news
Hmm.
that's come out, and I think the most recent news that we had today, which we can get through, is the Lakers. They did let go of, I think, Dane Johnson, who was the G League coach at the time, and now they've brought on
Right.
Mark Guthrie. I don't have any background on Mark Guthrie, and it looks like he's a very G League coach. I wish him all the best. This another
Yeah.
guy that seems to be part of this whole idea that the Lakers are now moving towards being more of a developing talent and making
Hmm.
that a priority within the organization. That's a thing. So this is somebody who a position that need to be filled. Any thoughts? You watch the G League much closer than I do.
Yeah, so I don't have any thoughts on Guthrie. Just quickly on Dane. I thought he was a good coach, and I think most of this decision came from the Vegas Summer League experience. And to me,
Mhm.
it's not his fault that they came without a point guard, or maybe they thought JHS would be ready and he wasn't. Or whatever it was. But obviously now they look very disorganized in Vegas, and I think that kind of resulted in his being let go. Hopefully, again, looking forward to building a relationship with Guthrie and talking basketball with him, talking hoops with him, and see how it goes. But yeah, I thought Dana was a good coach, so I was kind of surprised at that news. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see what happens. We have South Boy. South Boy is important. I mean, we're gonna have I don't think people realize how many players are gonna be playing there that are actually rostered on the Lakers. Like Maxwell Lewis is rostered, JHS is
Yeah.
rostered, Bronny James is rostered. These are
Yeah.
these are players that are actually rostered. So the development down there is important.
Yeah, no, the other thing I was going to say also is I think the G League and just the idea of developing talent, grabbing guys, throwing them in the G League for a year, hoping that they pop out and become individuals who can help at the back end
Yeah.
of the rotation or better. I think that's going to become more of an emphasis for a lot of teams moving forward. So I'd be very curious to see how that pans out for the Lakers with the regime change and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So Raj, we did get two pieces of news broken
Mm-hmm.
up that are very interesting. One came via a conversation on a podcast, some secondhand reporting, not necessarily like official Lakers
Yeah.
letterhead. And then we got some other news, which was officially on the Lakers letterhead. The second one being that Christian Wood was going through a knee procedure that was announced just this week, which is going to keep him out about 8 weeks, which should put him right on track for opening day. But if we know how the Lakers work, he's basically 8 weeks, which will turn into a 2-week ramp up, which will turn into a
Right.
1 week playing 5-on-5, whatever that is. The Lakers are notorious.
No
Granted, we do
training
have, I
camp.
think, a new
Yeah.
medical guy now too, as well. So maybe it's going to change the messaging of what we get. Um,
Yeah.
but Christian Wood is unavailable for at
Mm-hmm.
least training camp and preseason, from what it sounds like. What do you think about the impact of him, um, knowing that he's probably our best floor spacing big, like our only floor spacing big, basically
Yeah.
on the roster?
So I don't know. When I heard that, obviously I hope he gets healthy. Vinay, that's first and foremost. I wasn't like I didn't really enjoy the Christian Wood basketball experience. I'm lower on him than I think consensus. I think he's obviously in like the higher talent pool of our roster, but I think just from a rotation standpoint, like I was fine with Jackson Hayes, I guess, in a regular season backup center role, high motor type player. Christian Wood is like a plotting. Like I look at Christian Wood's archetype, the plotting, slow-footed, offensive-centric center. I just think like that archetype, unless you're special offensively, I think it's really tough. He shot 30% from three last year. I know the jumper is supposed to go in. It just never looked like it did to me. I thought his defense was very sporadical. I thought it was very much determined by his offensive load. If he was like given offensive possessions, then he would defend at a certain rate. I think he's a good rebounder as well. His best minutes are obviously next to LeBron and AD. Am I crazy? I don't think it's that. Like, I think this, we'll talk about the Vando injury later, but I think in conjunction with the Vando injury makes it a lot worse than if it was just Christian Wood not ready by end of October. But just isolating him, I don't see it as big of a loss. But where are you at with it? Because I guess I'm just lower on Christian Wood than the general public. But where are you at with it?
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think in a like just as an individual, I don't think losing him hurts us, or him not being available
Hmm.
hurts us. You know, especially if he's back by like mid
Right.
October or something like that. I don't think it'll be a big deal. Um, but there was really no direction for him to go except up, like in terms of
Mm,
just kind of what he provided for us last season. Inconsistent player, a guy that really commits to both sides of the ball only if he gets the ball on one side of the ball at
yeah.
times. It seems to be the things that keeps him engaged. Not a guy, you know, when you juxtapose him to like Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes was willing to do anything. He'll run hard up and down the floor, put his body in between any layup attempt. Will take bad fouls. Will attempt to block shots that you know he has no business trying to block.
Hmm.
He would do all kinds of stuff, and I think that was something that was lacking on Christian. The drive was lacking a little bit on Christian's side and last season. So knowing that we have still Jackson available to play that sort of that grunt work role, I'm not too worried about it, but
Yeah.
there was a part of me that was a little, you know, we've talked, or we both advocated, or I've advocated for us playing a bigger front court
Hmm.
and shifting everybody over one spot basically, and playing bigger to shrink the floor. And I thought Christian would have helped that more than Jackson would have helped that.
Sure.
Just because he likes to be on the perimeter, he likes to take those jump shots and whatnot. So losing him and not being able to see that in action and potentially
Yeah.
be a starting option to start the season, I'm a little concerned about. So it's um, I'm worried about that, but I'm hoping that his injury, because it's like an arthroscopic cleanup sort of thing, from what it sounds like, it's not too serious.
And it's the same one he had in March as well, right? I think he had a similar procedure in March of the season, and I think he tried to ramp up with it. I just when I look at Christian Wood, I think his best utility, like we just look at him, is you give him an offensive unit where
Hmm.
he's the fulcrum. And I just think like our team is littered with guards. Like I think that's less important to me. I need a big that screens well,
Hmm.
that obviously rebounds well. And you mentioned the two big kind of units. I think that's great that he could play next to AD, but I want my five at least to be able to kind of sub in for AD. That's the whole point. I think AD
Yeah,
is going to play like 35 minutes anyway. I need a big that can back him up. I think you tweeted about it that it's a little disheartening if they knew about this
yeah,
earlier and kind of didn't move forward, which I'm giving them a little bit of, grace on that. Christian Wood tweeted about it. I think this is one of those where, you start ramping up and then, do you remember Gabe Vincent? Vinay had a similar situation where he
yeah,
came back for 2 games, tried to play through it, and then decided, you know what, I'm just going to have to get the surgery. And then
yeah,
obviously that's not the timing you want, but that's the same thing I see with Christian Wood.
yeah,
We're a guard littered, roster already. And I think like Christian Wood offensive possessions help, which were already weren't super efficient, but like I think that's his best role where you get the 17 and 8.
yeah,
But Christian Wood at like 7 and 4, just like it doesn't move me as much because of just all this other stuff he doesn't do. Doesn't protect the rim very well. He does rebound, but not really a great help side block guy. Is not engaged on that end in a way that I think with high motor and stuff like that. So again, this is very negative. I hope he gets healthy because you want all the tools in your toolbox when you're like trying to figure out the team. I just not as big a loss in my opinion.
yeah.
But
No, I'm with you there. I mean, he's a vet minimum guy. His name had sort of been floated in different trades as just like the salary filler sort of thing. So I don't think the Lakers have. I think the Lakers as a franchise themselves are very invested in his success, or like his obviously his success, yes, but not like growing his role to a point
mhm,
where he makes a ton more money or whatever it is. I think they still see him as like a vet minimum guy who's trying to find a way to stick in the league. But yeah, he is one of the few big guys that we have on our roster, so that is a little bit
sure.
of a concern. So let's get on to the more concerning injury news. And
Yeah.
again, this hasn't been put out on official lines. I think some Lakers media folks, Anthony, they've kind of mentioned it and whatnot, maybe through their reporting. But this has been a more largely like secondhand information that's been passed out, that Vando doesn't look like he's going to be ready for training camp. He doesn't look like he's going to be ready for preseason. Now, there's a aspect of this that might just be that nobody's seen Vando, so they don't know. Um, The one thing I will say is that usually, Vando's a clutch guy. The clutch guys in the off season always have like those workouts at that
Mm,
just whatever that guy's name is. They're whoever the guy is that they do in LA that they do their open runs with. He
mm-hmm.
usually has like an IG campaign for like each different clutch client that comes through his Just Hoop or something, I think is what his name is. That comes through his gym. Vando is one of those guys. Like every offseason, you see Vando making jumpers, and then the Lakers Twitter will pick that up and be like, "Oh, maybe Vando has a jumper this year," and it's like, no, that's not how it works. And so we haven't seen that, and we haven't seen much of Vando in regards to that. Which will, we know how Lakers Twitter is. We know how Laker fans are. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. I forgot how that saying goes in Pulp Fiction, but there's going to be some concern about that. So
Ugh,
let's go with
man.
what we do know. Some folks have said, fairly reputable sources have said, that Vando might not be ready in preseason. He might not be ready for training camp. The injury might be worse. Vando has fought off the prospect of doing surgery. This is an injury
Yeah.
that like has basically cost him the entire season last season,
Mm-hmm.
and we are now at the point where we don't even know if we'll get him at the start of this season. Um, I think this is a very big impact. Like this is a
100%.
huge, huge impact. Like on the Lakers. Like when I say huge impact, I mean like this is the difference between the Lakers being like an average to above average defensive team to being one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Um,
Right.
at the wing position, like the
Mm-hmm.
wing and big
Or
position.
any possession,
Yeah.
honestly.
And that is very, very concerning to me because you and I have both covered just how infectious his defensive energy is and how he kind of fills a lot of the gaps that for our star players and our offensive players. Talk to me about what your thoughts are if Vando has to miss extended time to start this season.
So really quick, Vando was at a Sparks game recently. So
Mm-hmm.
shout out him for saw him there. I was a little upset at the Sparks for not putting him on the jumbotron. They put the actor in forgot what movie it was, Jason Sudeikis or something like that. They put him on who was sitting next to Vando. Vando was very disinterested in the basketball. He was on his phone the whole time, but he's the first Laker this season to go to a Sparks game, so he should be commended for that. Now this is huge news to me. I think at least this is how I'm operating, Vinay. The Lakers were operating as if they had a healthy Vando coming into this season. He played 25 games a year ago. I think, Vinay, he looked like Vando for like 4 of those. And I'm like including the in-season tournament really within that. Right. Like I thought that's where we saw like the best looking Jared Vanderbilt. And then he got hurt, I believe, in February and just never came back again. I believe he was available to play in game 5 against Denver. Obviously he did not play, but I think he was like available or something like that to be put in. No, this hurts. I recommend anyone to go down the Lakers roster and how quickly like do you go to players that are known for defense. Like you go through your starting lineup. I put LeBron and AD in a different tier. So like D'Lo, Austin, Rui. It gets very quickly, Vinay, to like Cam Reddish and Max Christie. Like you get to that level very quickly, and that's where Vando to me is so important. He's so unique on this team. His skill set is just it blends to me the whole team together. This is huge news. Like I think if Vando's out and not like even if I think Vando needs to be the Vando of 2023. I know you just spoke on needing a jump shot. I don't think Vando needs a jump shot to be effective on this team. The
Mm-hmm.
Lakers didn't extend Vando for 448 because they think he has a corner 3-pointer. They
Yep.
extended Vando for who he was at the time, which was one of the best offensive rebounders in the league, one of the best hands in the league, instincts in terms of steals, versatility 1 through 5 defensively. Like they signed that guy to a $12 million deal. That's not the guy the Lakers got last year, but that's the guy they need this year. This is huge news to me. Like Vando needs to be healthy. There's nothing going around that because if he's not, like then you're really relying on the Cam Reddishes. Gabe Vincent, I have no idea what he is. We'll see what he is coming back from an injury. I think it's super important. He was the guy I would have wanted to start. Vinny, I would have started Vando
Yeah.
this year. Like
Yeah.
I think this would be heartbreaking news to hear going into tough way to start training camp to have Vando, out again in during preseason.
Yeah, no, I'm very concerned about it, Raj. Also, my larger concern is if he does have no choice but to pursue the surgical
Uh,
option, how much longer that might knock him out We don't know the exact place of the injury for him. That's very very hard to gauge. The smoke and mirrors with the Lakers and how they cover their players' injuries and transparency about that's well documented. We have a lot of complaints about that too as well. But it just kind of is what it is. Raj, I'm not gonna lie, dude. That's going to be a seriously big problem for the Lakers because Vando does mean that much to us, like in terms of what he brings defensively. I don't think we have a guy who can check the guys that Vando would be asked to check. Max Christie cannot check Luka Doncic. Cam Reddish cannot check Luka Doncic. And this is me assuming that Cam has like a bounce back season. He had a good defensive season, offensive season was a little rough for him. But this entire aspect of the Lakers having a core rotation, and mind you, this is a core rotation guy too as well. He's not Cam. He's not a vet minimum guy. This is a core rotation guy that's going to be involved. Like the Lakers have to address this. So my concern is, let's put if we were in the front office part here, and let's play a game. Well, not a game, but we're going to do this exercise that I like to do, where we try to figure out what the Lakers front office is actually thinking when they're doing this process and how they come to this, how we reach this point. And so there's one thing I've always kind of understood. I just kind of, this is speculation on my part, but how the Lakers approach this sort of stuff. When it comes to injuries, taking care of your body in the offseason, that sort of thing. I'm not saying Lakers historically have done this. I'm saying this current regime seems like they allow the player to manage that themselves. If you think of the players as independent contractors and not as employees of the Los Angeles Lakers, okay? So this just requires a little bit of like changing the way you think about it. It's Vando's responsibility to, if something really bad happens, to probably let the Lakers know, hey, something really bad has happened. I fell in the shower, XYZ, whatever it is. There's also an aspect of this on the other side where we would hope that Rob or the medical person
is checking in
with our players to do that. And my concern here is, Raj, and this is the first thing I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, is either that's happening and the Lakers knew that he's opted not to get surgery, but he still doesn't feel good. He doesn't think he's on track for preseason, or that's not happening. And the Lakers are just like, okay, on October 1st or September 30th, everybody has to check in for their medicals at the scheduled times, and then we'll go from there. And I'm concerned, Raj, because the whole off season's passed and we had no clue. What do you think about those two scenarios?
Yeah, so I think speaking about injuries, right, is always such a slippery slope. It's always, you have to kind of really be careful. Because when the Christian Wood news dropped, right there, Renee, there was a lot of company time stuff that was spoke about, like, hey, does Christian Wood just want to rehab on company time? And I kind of always thrown that away because Christian Wood has no incentive not to play this season. He's on a 1-year minimum deal. He needs minutes and he needs to be healthy in those, and his reputation's already kind of on thin ice. No, it's fascinating and I think like this is not a Laker thing to me. This is a like current modern NBA thing. You look at Kawhi with the Clippers, right? Just very much their head coach has no idea, and Kawhi's a special case, obviously.
Sure,
there's a little bit more. He has a little bit more autonomy over there. But like his own coach had no idea that he wouldn't play a second half. Very similar. I think a lot of players go away. Vando doesn't. I don't think Vando's in LA the whole summer, right? And so. But I'm sure Rob's like seeing Vando post on IG and like, hey, like this guy looks like he's rehabilitating the right way. Obviously, Vando wants to put out that he'll be ready. And there's no incentive for Vando to kind of be like, oh yeah, Vando would never come out and be like, yeah, my process is going slower than expected, right? You're not going to hear that come out. So it's a very slippery slope in terms of like what's going on behind the scenes. These are things that we're not privy to really. So I don't know. And I think like, you talked about seeing these guys not as employees, as independent contractors. And, both of us don't like to use the word asset. It kind of sounds like a very, like you're kind of inhumane, but these are $1 million assets, right?
Yeah.
Vando was paid $48 million for the next 4 years, which means like you got to take care of, like, so if Vando needs surgery, then like it's worth you'd rather him get surgery in terms of an organizational perspective,
Sure.
protecting the player, protecting the asset, excuse me, get him surgery and have him heal that foot all the way rather than play. And it's a tough thing for fans to hear, right? It's not
Yeah.
what you want to hear. Gabe Vincent also, right, on 3-year, $36 million deal, made more sense to kind of protect that, get him surgery, even if it makes him miss the first year. Tough thing to listen to. You hope these things there's a little bit more transparency, at least between the parties involved.
Yes.
But I don't know if there are. I have no idea. Like, do you think? I remember LeBron after, was it Game 6 in 2023, Vinay, where he said, I'll get surgery, but none of you will know about it."
Yeah.
I forgot which game that was. So like, I think these things happen in the like current NBA, where every player has their own special trainer, has their own doctor, right? Fans always get mad at I forgot if they were mad at Darvin or who were they mad at that AD didn't play one night. Like, that's not his decision. Like,
Yeah.
these are decisions happening, with multiple people, with multiple parties, and AD has, say on these type of things. I see the same thing with Vando. It's frustrating. Like, again, I don't think Vando has any incentive not to want to play. I think he would like to, but uh, and again, I don't know how to judge this stuff. Like, injuries are kind of extended. We have the best training, and somehow there's more injuries now than there were 20 years ago. It makes no sense. There's more players miss more games now than they did 10 years ago. But yeah, it's tough. I don't know how to like parse that. I just hope Vando gets healthy. I just, as a fan, it's just like, I don't care about any of that. Is Vando playing on night one or not? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it looks like he's not going to.
Yeah, I think all the perspectives that you're kind of bringing up are fair. There is a human element to this. Like, maybe Vando is scared of getting surgery; he doesn't want to get surgery, and there's players that
Sure.
are like that too as well. So we can't ignore the the human part of this too as well. So I think that's fair. And then I think that the human part of fans being like, "Yo, we don't care. Like, if you're going to get surgery, go get surgery, or if
Hmm.
you're not going to play, then don't play. But at least let us know." And
Right.
the macro perspective for me, because we're putting our GM hats on,
Hmm.
is if I was the GM, I would want to know where that player is at,
For sure.
especially all my core rotation guys, the 1 through 12 at least. I want to know where they're at, because those guys are, regardless of what I think the ceiling on this team is success wise, I want them to be available. Braun is another year older. He's going to need more guys to support him and what he does and what AD does too as well. So just putting our GM hats on, like, I guess the one thing that maybe bothers me, and maybe bothers
Mm.
not the right word, but like, it almost makes me think that, like, there's almost not a disconnect, but there's like a lack of interest or a lack of
Mm.
investment to some degree, on Rob's part. Now, if Vando's completely healthy and he just hasn't said anything, then we're complaining about nothing. But if he is hurt and he's going to miss some extended time, it does bother me that our GM wasn't on top of that. It does bother me that there isn't enough transparency or communication or trust or whatever it is, right? Because the human part of this is Vando specifically. If that's the case, Vando might not be letting people know about his injury because he doesn't want to get traded. Maybe he wants to stay in
Mm.
LA, that sort of thing too as well. That's what is a popular saying. The easiest way to tank your value is to say that you're hurt, and then
Mm.
nobody will trade for you. But Rob not knowing is one thing. That's a different red flag, communication issue between player agent
Mm.
and Rob. But then the other issue is, if he doesn't know, just because he doesn't know, he's never inquired about it, then it's just like, are you paying attention to, like, the things that, like, because you and I just talked about it. Vando feels like there's no replacing what Vando does on this team. We don't have a guy we can just throw in there and just be like, go do what Vando does. And they can do it to, I'm not saying 1-to-1 the ability that he
Sure.
has, but even like 80% of what he does. Like, if you squint, maybe you could see Jackson Hayes doing some of the stuff he does against guys who aren't perimeter oriented, but it's really not happening. And
Yeah.
that bothers me, as a
Yeah.
fan.
y-
Is
y-
that fair? Am I being fair when I
that
think that way?
I think that is fair. I also like when I look at. I mean, I think there's a possibility that Rob Pelinka looked at this and was like, "Hey, we have Rui Hachimura, step right in. We just signed Max Christie, who's a guard slash forward. Minutes for him. There's already a crunch in minutes, right, between all our guards. Like, we have a 15-man we had a 14-man roster, I believe, before, or 13-man roster, excuse me, before the season even began, right? Like I think there's a word, like I don't know if Vanderbilt's valued in that way in the front office in the same way. Like
Mm,
I pose this question to you, like if they found out Vanderbilt was out for the season before free agency, do you think a trade would have coalesced? Do you think there would a trade would happened if they got the news Vando was out for this season? I'll give my answer, but while you ponder, I think no. I think you would have got the same offseason. I think you would have got the same
interesting.
summer. And I feel like they would again move this to the trade deadline and kind of, pick the pieces up there, and see what JJ Redick does with the roster he has. Now, maybe if both Wood and Vando were kind of ruled out for extended length in times, maybe they go
Mhm.
and get another big man. But I think Vando's own injury, who again, Vando was out last year, right, Vinay, and didn't do anything at the trade deadline. It's not like Vando's injury propelled them to make a move at the deadline. They knew Vando
True.
would be out going to the playoffs. So I don't know, is he valued in that way? I'm not sure. Um, I think part of Darvin Ham being let go was the use of Rui Hachimura. I'm sure that's a player they believe can come in and have a bigger role. When I look at this, maybe this is cynical. I don't think they're Rob is looking at it from that way. I think he's just gonna let Vando do his rehab. Vando's also a clutch client, which means it's conversations with Rich Paul, which again, I'm not saying it complicates things. I think there's a ladder of communication that these things go through to where, like, I don't know, can Rob Pelinka call and be like, hey, Vando, are you rehabbing? Right. Like, I don't know how do those
Yeah,
conversations
fair,
go?
fair. Yeah, we
You know
don't
what I
know how
mean?
those conversations go. Like they may not happen at all. It might be like a hey, enjoy your summer. We did our exit interviews. I'll see you in
Right.
2 months.
Right.
This is your off season. I could certainly see Rob being that type of guy. The gym is open whenever you guys want to use it. Trainers will be on call whenever you guys need it. That sort of thing. So that might just be what it is. But yeah, I don't know, Raj. That is there's to be fair, there's no way to always be able to plan for every single contingency. Like you can't have a plan for everything.
No, for sure.
Sometimes stuff just happens, and you just it is what it is. I would have hoped. Now we're already in September, so I'm not going to complain about the lack of moves in July and August. You and I know I specifically said I thought the number one thing for the organization was getting Braun's extension done, and I thought that they
Hmm.
really wouldn't do any moves until they got Braun's extension done. And Braun got his extension done before the Olympics, and then we still didn't make any moves outside of drafting
Hmm.
Dalton, and so there is a part of this that makes me wonder if you're sort of right in the sense of like this was just their plan from the start. They weren't going to do anything drastic unless something like really fell into their lap that was just like a home run for them. Hey, we'll take D'Lo and we'll send you back a really talented basketball player
Right.
because we just want to
Right.
swap salaries or something like that. And I guess for me as a fan, it's just, and this is me just voicing the complaint, is the concern is just like you did have like 6-7 months, even before the offseason to see how
Hmm.
bad our defense was, to be like, hey, even with a new coach, there are still like we can separate the IQ stuff. Like JJ might come in and make Rui a smarter player defensively, but Rui has
Sure.
physical limitations that limit him from also being a good basketball player, defensively at least. Um, those things have to be addressed. I don't think Max addresses that, or Cam or Dalton address those things. Um, and that's I try to think of the right word without making it sound like doom and gloom, but it's just like maybe annoying is the right word. It's a little annoying for me because it's like you couldn't find a vet minimum guy anywhere. You couldn't find somebody I think in the chat. I think Shell, like he jokingly said, Wendy Gabriel. Like you couldn't just find somebody. And I know we had all of our roster spots used up. Bronny got a 14th roster spot. Dalton got a 13th roster spot. Like,
Hmm.
but like maybe we flip Cam or Christian Wood for a guy who's more defensive oriented or center,
Yeah.
that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
it's a little annoying that we aren't prepared for something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just, it's like when we fired Vogel, right? A lot of the summer conversation was kind of just, hey, we have this new, coach. It was Darvin Ham at the time. He's gonna, like, that's our move, right? That's like the move we made. And remember, we kept Russ, right? And then we waited to trade Russ at the deadline. This feels like similar to that, where I thought like not trading D'Lo was the stamp for me. When they
Fair.
signed D'Lo, that's when like my beliefs were kind of hardened in terms of, yeah, they're not making any moves. And the conversation of why D'Lo signed was, I want to play for JJ Redick. When I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
At least until the deadline. And look, let's be frank, like you're gonna start, as we both love Austin, but I mean, you're gonna start D'Lo and Austin Reeves as your backcourt next to LeBron, who turns 40 in December, which is in about 2 months away. Your other forward spot needs to be a defensive ace. It just does. I got, as much as AD carries a Herculean like role in that. I think they're going to start Rui right next to that. So again, you have D'Lo, Austin, LeBron at 40 years old, and Rui Hachimura flanking AD defensively. I like. I'm be frank. I don't know how many teams that's slowing down. Like you're going to be a very much an offensive lean team, and I think that's what a JJ Redick team probably is. But yeah, and that this is a lot of hope that number one, Max Christie pops. Like I think he had good moments. I think he had nice moments on Donovan
Mhm.
Mitchell. I forgot the other guy that he defended really well during that stretch. He had a little stretch in there. Still has to prove he can hit an open three. That hasn't really been consistent. They are really betting that Dalton Connect is ready day one. I hope so. I'm high on Dalton Connect, but I mean
Mhm.
it's a really big gamble. So again, like this is why I think the Vando injury is so poignant. But yeah, I think they looked at this roster, Vinay, and was like, hey, we kind of made our bed a year ago, and like we're just gonna keep laying in it until we have to change the sheets, which is not till February in their mind. So that's how I see it. Maybe that's like me just being, I don't think it's doom. It's just I've kind of accepted. Like I
Yeah.
think this is a at best like can fight for a top 6 seed and then like
Yeah.
be frisky in the playoffs with LeBron and AD like as healthy playing. But on that, like it's probably a play-in roster right now, and
Yeah.
and
So
and fighting there. Yeah.
that was like sort of the next thing I was going to ask you, because there's like this kick the can down the road
Mm,
strategy that the Lakers have been doing. Um, they've been, I mean, it hasn't just been this offseason. They've been kind of doing that since, I would say, and since after we won the championship. They've essentially been doing the strategy of kicking the can down the road and hope
mm-hmm.
that a really great deal falls into their laps. And one of the things that's been a little concerning for me is that we've seen them do this already once or twice before. And my concern is that now we're going to be on season start, and let's say, I agree that whatever Vando's situation is and D'Lo's situation is, we're going to wait till February to move them, or December 15th, which is where like a lot of guys typically start getting moved early.
Mm,
Um, my concern is that if the record gets away from us, or if it
yeah.
clearly looks like we can't be a top 6 Western Conference team.
Oh man, what a
Yeah,
tire fire
like
that's
yeah,
gonna be.
you know exactly what it's like. And when I say not a top 6 team, I mean like 7th and 8th won't be acceptable. Like last season, I mean honestly, every season it's happened. We don't have to go over it. Since Russ has been on the team, the second year with Russ
Mm-hmm,
on the team, then Ham for half a season was the vaccine to all the issues, and D'Lo was a vaccine, or the
mm-hmm,
cure to all the issues. That immediately died within 6 months, into the next season, and it was turmoil again. Like the fan base has gotten very, very good at pointing out singular blame for all kinds of different things. And if the Lakers are not playing well, record wise, I think the offense will be really good. I think the execution will be better. But if the win loss record doesn't reflect what it should reflect in the standings, there's also a version of this where the Lakers don't do anything again
uh,
at the deadline and just say, we're not investing anymore in this, what this is.
eh,
And
eh,
that was the topic I wanted to talk to you about,
yeah.
Raj,
eh, eh,
because this is something that's been very, very interesting to hear. Um, and it's been very, let me think of the right way to say this. I think if it was a different coach saying this, and if it was
oh, I see where you're going. Yeah.
if it was a different person saying this, and if there was, see, like, okay, let me put it this way. Right now, there's nobody on the Lakers roster to get upset at. Okay. Like D'Lo is the guy that people are probably pointing out right now.
Most
But in reality,
polarizing player.
there's no specific guy to blame. Right? JJ's an unknown, so we don't have anything
Right.
to say. Bron and AD just won the Olympic gold, so we're high. We love them. Can't blame Dalton. Can't blame Mac. Can't blame Austin, Christian Wood, Vando. You're not getting mad at any of Rui. You're not getting mad at any of those guys, right? Like, and Rob and those guys. Those are probably the people you get upset at. But right now, it's off season. Nobody's doing that. There's nobody to blame for the fan base, and there has been some messaging coming out of the fan base, or sorry, from our front office, from our coach. Started as soon as the coaching, the coaching introduction. That Lakers fans should temper their expectations. Hold your horses, Laker fans. Hey, we know it's championship or bust, but just chill out for a second. There's a process. It takes some time to get there, and if we get there, that'll be great. But we might hit some bumps along the way. And I was like, all right, you know what? That makes sense. That's nothing new. It's not Darvin Ham telling us not to be upset and die
Right.
over
Right.
wins and losses, which was probably not the right way to say it. It's a nice, smoother,
Hmm.
very corporate America way of saying something like that. But then Magic Johnson also does an interview, Raj, and he
Yeah.
says, hey,
Give JJ time.
give
Yeah.
him some time.
Right.
Just chill out. Take it easy.
Just it's funny. Yeah.
And I was like, and so that is the topic I want. That's the topic I want to talk about, Raj, because that doesn't align at all with
no.
what I think any fan, whether you're a Laker fan or you're a LeBron fan or you're an AD fan, that doesn't align at all with
I'm
what our urgency level should be. I'm not saying blow up the franchise, trade 5 guys for Donovan Mitchell. I'm not saying anything like that, but it worries me a little bit that
so.
our coach and our front office folks are saying that.
Do you? So I'll ask you this: do you go get Dan Hurley if you're in title or bust mode? I don't think so.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't like Dan Hurley is known for obviously he's coming from the collegiate level, but like you bring that guy in to develop young guys, right? And even the messaging around the whole organization this summer, Vinay, has been we are focused on internal development. We are focused on developing our young guys. We are invested in Jalen Hood-Schifino, Maxwell Lewis. Like we're trying to get those aren't the words of like a title or bust team, right? I think Jeannie Buss was just on a show as well and spoke about Bronny, right? We need to give Bronny time and earn minutes and have his development be, up to the forefront. It's just those aren't terms to me of a team that's in title or bust. And look, I think you're right. I think they're like saying they're trying to ride this out. It's like sounds very, I don't know, demeaning in terms of like very disrespectful to the team and all that. But I think with how they see this, Vinay, is like, look, we put our chips in for this team. Like we signed Rui to a 4-year deal. We gave Vando a 4-year deal. We gave D'Lo a 2-year deal. We gave Gabe the 3-year deal. We signed everyone. We brought everyone back. And now it's on the players to, coalesce and find chemistry. We got the coach that hopefully the star players were invested in, right? JJ Redick was sold as an AD hire publicly, right? As much as we want to speak on that, however that came out. But yeah, I think that's how, and I think the interesting part of this that no one's talking about to me is look at the West. I mean, like OKC, Denver, Minnesota, Dallas. That's 4 right there already.
Yep.
You have right that you have Phoenix, who won 49 games last year, and Beal played like 20. The Pelicans won 49 games last year. Zion, I believe, didn't play after December, if I have that right. The Warriors, I'm not sure what they'll be, but I mean, Memphis got John Morant back, who's kind of like they're a regular season wins like team where they know how to win. I'm just naming a bunch of teams. That's already like at 8. I mean, I'm not saying the Lakers can't be better than these teams. It's just like the West is hell. Like you have one bad stretch and you're in 11 to Houston, like and New Orleans also did the DeJounte Murray deal, kept Brandon Ingram. So like I look at the West and it's just a absolute hell. And you combine that with the Lakers not having Vando to start, JJ Redick will 100% have a adjustment period. That's just how it goes. Dalton Connect will have an adjustment period. You don't walk in and be as great as I think he will be. It's just rookies have adjustment periods. I just look at the team and I'm like, man, we are going to be in a tough spot again until February where we figure this out. But I don't know. Like I understand your point in terms of the messaging. I never thought that they were like in title or bust mode. I never thought these picks were getting moved. And I think that's where they're at. Like, but I think, like, to be fair, was there a player this offseason, Vinay, that you would have moved both picks for that existed in this summer? I don't know if that player existed. You weren't getting Laurie Markkinen with that deal, so
Yeah,
like I throw that away. You're kind of looking at the. And I'm not paying Rob Pelinka's bail because I don't have that much money, but like Jeremy Grant is the kind of guy, I guess, that fits this mold. I don't think I would do it for him. Kyle Kuzma is the guy that fits this mold. That I'm not sure if I'd get both my remaining first for Kyle Kuzma. So I just like look at the deals available, and I think the Lakers looked at. And this isn't an excuse not to do anything. That's not what I'm saying.
right.
I'm just talking about the win now move. And I think most fans are kind of like, hey, you have LeBron James on your team, like go for it, right? And it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what player existed for that. That's not my job either. Like that's on the front office to do that. But yeah, that's the part where I go back and forth. I really don't know. But yeah, doing nothing this offseason obviously wasn't the move, and you're kind of in this middle pack of like
Yeah.
the teams that aren't really contenders but are going to be fighting for a playoff spot.
Can I ask you a question? We aren't media, right? We aren't like official Lakers media. We don't. You are in that space a little bit more than I am with your Sparks coverage and when you attend some Laker games. Do you think it's not? The word isn't concern. Or let me just say what my thought is. I think it's interesting that nobody in the Lakers media has taken the position that you just described, which is LeBron is spectacular, AD is spectacular, and the Lakers haven't really done anything to help them get a little bit closer to the championship, knowing what they know about the team since the Western Conference Finals run, and then basically losing 2 games to the defending champs on 2-game winners. It's been a little surprise to me, Raj, that nobody has. I haven't seen anybody have that level of urgency. If anything, it's been almost like a level of acceptance. Like
Yeah.
this is
Hmm.
this is just it is what it is, and the reason why it's crazy to me is because there's no way this would have happened last year. There's no way that this happened the year before that. There were articles written like if you don't trade Russ now, your season's complete. You're over before it starts. You have to fire Darvin Ham if you want to even have a chance of getting back to the West Coast. So it's very interesting that
It,
this has been the mood because I think you and I I'm very aware of how the Lakers front office communicates with Lakers media when they want certain sentiment to be out there, and for it to be so. I think the word of the week or the month has been demure. For it to be so demure and be like so quiet, and just be like the Lakers are existing, and enjoy LeBron in the Olympics and AD in the Olympics and
right.
Dalton
Right.
Connect is, we're looking forward to him and Max Christie's progression. I'm like, wow, this is kind of strange because this is weird for me because you got LeBron on the team and I'm like, yeah, where's the guy that like tips the scale in our favor that we were going to get, even if it's a role player, and it hasn't happened. So it's strange to me.
Yeah, it's funny. First of all, I deleted TikTok from my phone, and I would recommend anyone else to do that. It opens up a lot of peace in your mind, by the way. So just little tip there. But no, I think you're right. I think it is an acceptance phase. I've been in this acceptance phase since July, like first or second, when I was just again I saw there was no activity and no contingency plan when D'Lo was signed, and you had no trade set up. I was like, oh, they're just gonna go forward with this, and I think they are invested in this team as they were a year ago and just are going to kind of run this back and see what it is. You brought up the context of the 2-game winners. I don't think anyone else like really thinks of it like that. I don't think like when you're out in 5 games, I think it's kind of just seen as a gentleman's sweep, but when you get out. So I think most people are kind of tired, and I think Rob Pelinka has gotten some flack, but it's become more of a joke than it's become like a serious manner that people are coming after him. And also it's kind of like a tired thing. How much can you talk about Rob,
Fair
right?
fatigue, yeah.
Because I don't think Rob's going anywhere. I don't know what you think, Vinay, but I feel like Rob's job is pretty set in stone. Not stone, but it's pretty solidified. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think that's where we're at. I think that's where the coverage is at, and I'm at least my coverage this year. I'm going to try and kind of focus on the. It's been very just for the last few seasons. It's been very much hinging on. Oh, we're in title mode. I feel like I don't see this season as that, and maybe that's just how like I'm moving. I think this, at least until we get another move, or maybe LeBron and AD even played 73 games like each last like.
Yeah.
I'm not. Are you expecting that this season? I'm not. Like
Off the
65
heels of a Olympics run,
of an
they only get like
Olympics.
what, 1 month break, 2 month break
Right,
in the off
right,
season.
right. It's just they played over 70 plus. We just did a whole pod about injuries, but you got LeBron and AD for the whole time. You got them fully healthy, and you didn't crack 50 wins. Yeah, you went to 47 wins. You got both of those guys healthy the whole year. I think that's where the expectation should be. But yeah, I think that's where the coverage is. I don't know where you think where you're at with that, but I think that's where most people are. And I think most fans too are kind of more apathetic to the season. I don't know what you've seen online, but I feel like it's been more of just a acceptance of like what the team is, and
Mm.
kind of moving forward. That do you feel that, or maybe I'm just been offline
Oh,
for long?
I think I think right now nobody has written about the Lakers inaction. Some people have written about, or not written, or yeah, I've seen some tweets about like the Lakers are mishandling or bungling like
The end of
LeBron's
LeBron's
twilight,
right,
yeah, his
right, right,
twilight
right.
season and all that sort of stuff. So I've
Yeah,
seen that, but it hasn't really caught momentum. And I wonder if it's because it's the off season, so people aren't really in tune with it right now.
sure.
But
Football
I
started.
feel
Yeah,
I feel fairly confident that, and I know the folks that are in the Discord, the detailers are in the Discord. We'll have this discussion afterwards, but like I feel fairly confident that if the record by the end of October, or even sooner than that, is if or sorry, not the record, if the product, if what we're watching looks like an average basketball team,
mm,
Raj, I think those articles are going to come out, and it's going to be. I don't know who it's going to blame.
yeah.
I don't think it's going to blame anybody specific because it's tough to blame a front office sometimes, especially when they control your access to the locker room. But I think you'll get some noise about
Oh,
like, are the Lakers mishandling this? Um, um, have the Lakers intentionally mishandled this? Uh, should the competency of the entire regime of Rob, that sort of thing, be
yeah.
questioned because of the mishandling of this? Um, I think that'll happen if the win loss record doesn't look good. Now, if everything looks great and we're kicking butt, and JJ
Yeah.
Redick is the next Greg Popovich, I was going to say Bill Belichick because he's a football reference, but the next Greg Popovich in basketball, or Brad Stevens, whatever the young guy is, Joe Mazzulla, whatever.
Yeah.
Then I think we'll be great. I think we'll get a lot of positive stuff, and we'll have great things to talk about. But I'm with you. We started off the pod talking about these injuries and how much it hinges on a rookie that we had, two
Yeah.
rookies that we've added.
Mhm.
Bronny, I don't think we'll have a lot of expectation, but Dalton, and then Max's development and improvement from there. Rui's hopeful improvement, JJ's addition to the team. Like, I think there's going to be something there. Like, I think if the record and the product doesn't look good, like, I think the noise will get a little bit loud. I don't think it'll be something that'll go. The only reason it hasn't, Raj, is because there's no single person to get mad at right now. There's no
Right. Yeah.
one person. Lakers fan base needs one person to be pissed at, and they haven't found that one person yet.
And that
So,
person will come. Like
yeah.
I think it's gonna be JJ at some point, because the coach is just the lowest
Yeah.
hanging fruit. Like it's very easy to kind of grab at him. No, like it was very dark pod, but I mean like silver line. It's not hard for me to get in my optimism bag. Like if
Oh,
you just,
it's easy.
it's not difficult. But I think like the things that I guess working for them, Austin coming off the Olympics last year, right? Obviously, his legs were shot. I thought he could not shoot to start the year. Hopefully that helps. There were some crazy lineups to start the season as well. Rui had some weird role where I think he broke his nose early on and couldn't play.
Yeah.
The insistence on Torian Prince, being in the LeBron and AD tier of minutes for some reason. It's like there's some strange stuff going on last season. I'm sure JJ will have his weird niches, right, as a coach as well. Every coach has weird players they hug on to. It would be strange if like JJ started Dalton day one. That'd be a funny kind of that'd be a hilarious outcome to this, where JJ's like, hey, look, we got our shooter. The Vando's out, and You know what? Oh, you know what we're 100% gonna hear though? It's gonna be, and it's gonna be like this. The three spot is up for grabs in training
Oh
camp.
my
It's gonna be
god, yeah.
so good.
You
It's
got to
gonna be
win it
so
in
good.
camp.
You gotta win it in camp, yes. And it's like Dalton, Rui, like all fighting for that spot. But yeah, I guess that's the I guess glass half full. Lakers were 3 wins away from 50 wins, which is kind
Yeah.
of the benchmark of a good team. And I think a lot of teams were in that mark, right? The Warriors at the 10 seed were at 46 wins. That's kind of the mark in the West. But yeah, it's gonna be a fascinating kind of season. I just if they start off slow and JJ's not Darvin Ham, like he's not gonna be I don't know, very nice with his responses, and he's gonna be very confrontational, like with the questions. He dropped an F bomb in his opening presser. I think that told me all I needed to know, and he was answering very light-hearted questions. They were very softball teed
Yeah.
questions, and he decided to just throw his bat into
He
it.
he said the best thing,
Mm,
which I was just like, oh, this is either gonna go great or this is gonna go bad. Where he looks at the folks that are in the media folks and he goes, I know you guys aren't going to give me any grace. I was like, oh,
right,
he already knows what's about to
right, right,
happen
right.
if this doesn't go well for him. So I think I mentioned it in the Discord for the folks that are just listening. They're not in the Discord. I think JJ's best skill
Mm,
before we even get into the basketball stuff is his ability to handle media because he's worked in that
mm,
space. He
mhm.
knows what it is. He definitely does have like a limit to the nonsense stuff that he'll
Yeah.
tolerate. And I think we'll definitely get some funny moments from him, if we have like a bad loss or something like that, or
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
asks like a very sarcastically obvious question.
Right,
I
right,
think we'll
right.
get a really funny response.
100%.
Yeah, funny response from him. But you're right. We've been a little doom and gloom. Can I just say this? I think the Lakers offense is going to be great. I think the Lakers offense
Sure.
is going to be very, very good. One of the most difficult things I think for that team last season, and then we covered it many times. Darvin Ham is not good at establishing an offensive hierarchy. And I always used to use the example of LeBron, and I think the Braun folks used to get upset because they thought I was picking on Braun. But Braun, you saw it in the Olympics, is now kind of because of his age, he's at a place where he has to really be selective with when he wants to be impactful. You're not getting 36 minutes of Braun being a freight train the entire game. You're going to get moments, you'll get stretches where he wants to facilitate when he wants to do that. Ham was not very good at putting lineups out that complemented Braun because Braun would be ball dominant in different ways
Mhm,
as a creator or a scorer. I think JJ will be better at that, and I think that I would hope the execution of our offense is going to look better
mhm.
as a result of his hire.
Yeah.
My You and I are defensive guys too as well, so we do care about the defensive side. I don't know how he fixes that, but I think I think we're going to have a good offense, like an above
Mhm,
average top 10 potential offense. Um, and so that the Lakers fans should look forward to. There are many, many teams where we can just kill them with offense. And AD is such a force defensively that he can win you games defensively on his own. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think Laker fans should really look for that.
yeah,
How
yeah.
that reflects in the win losses will be very interesting to see.
Right. And also, I mean, 80's 30, right? You still have a superstar in your prime, which I
Absolutely.
feel like gets lost a lot in this translation. Obviously, 80 is a superstar in a unique way in terms of the modern NBA, right? Not a jump shooter, so his aesthetic as an offensive player doesn't really come out. But that dude's an absolute monster on defense, and I think that's where you're building around, and you're hoping that that carries you on that end. And hopefully, him and JJ can have conversations on where he likes the basketball a little bit more. Where his positioning is on defensive end. Something about AD, he lights up when he's in help mode, when he's in
Yeah.
a help defender, something about that just juices him up. So hope maybe they can kind of find ways to kind of get him more in those spots. But that's where the optimism is that you have a 30-year-old superstar still who looked amazing 2 months ago, obviously in an environment a little bit differently where um his role is different in terms of his responsibilities. But I think that's the positive. It's you should still have two top 5 to 10 players, which makes the roster build insane. That it's still a place where we're sitting at the 4. Yeah, I was gonna highlight that question as well because I think that's really interesting and important. How does LeBron and AD just accept this by customize a plate? Do they love being a Laker so much they don't care? I don't care isn't I think the word
Yeah.
here. but I do think there's like a line of what they'll accept in Los Angeles over somewhere else.
Yeah,
If does that make sense? And so I think AD loves being in LA. LeBron's son is literally signed on a 4-year deal here. I think he's very happy in LA. And I think
yeah.
both of them aren't going to do much to ruffle feathers in that way. I don't know. That's where I'm at with it as well. Like, do you see LeBron going and like making huge demands to, like, I don't see that in age 40, and 80 also isn't that type of guy. I think both of them are kind of in the space of their careers where they just play and kind of let the front office or clutch do their job, however this is working. Where are you at with that question?
Yeah, I think this is a good question because when I get comments on Twitter when I talk about front office moves and stuff like that, I always get a section of like the Braun folks who are
Hmm.
like, "Oh, Rob Pelinka is incompetent." And actually, I ended up responding to one of them, and it wasn't a Braun person that posted. It was Dutch. I think I quote tweeted him where it says Pelinka's legitimately his response to me about the Vando and Wood news injuries was, that Pelinka legitimately seems to be purposely moving against the franchise's best interest at this point. And like my response to him is, I don't think the inaction this offseason is like him trying to do the opposite. Like I think this is by design. Like I think, and this is a tricky conversation to have without making it sound like an insult, but I think to some degree the Lakers franchise, and we can get to it in another pod because it's a whole topic in itself. I think the front office is firmly aware of where Braun is at as a player, and they're firmly
Hmm.
aware of where AD is at as a player. They know that these two guys are both max contract guys. It's extremely hard to build a team with who we currently have right now that's perfect fits next to those two guys because Braun is old. Okay, like he's
Hmm.
going to be selective with what he wants to do. AD is not a jump shooter, so he's not the same type of offensive talent that some of these other guys are. Though he is a tremendous defensive talent. So because you have two very unique players in unique situations
Hmm.
who are also max contract players, you have to kind of accept it for what it is. So my answer to this question is, I don't think that Braun and AD are just accepting it. I think they're also aware as well. I think they also
Hmm.
know, like, AD knows, like, yo, I'm not taking threes. Like, y'all told me to take 6 threes a game 2 years ago, and then last
Hmm.
year, I'm not doing that. I'm not taking those. I want to go to the rim. I want to be out on the open floor. I want to take my mid range jumpers, my turnaround hooks, that sort of thing. Um, and if I if they're close, like they are AD and Braun, they might be telling themselves, hey, we can only control what we can control. We can't do
Yeah.
anything more than that. We can express if they ask us, do you like D'Lo? Do you think we should move him around or blah blah? They might offer their opinion, but for the most part, they're like, we're just going to go out there and hoop and control what we can control. And um, I think that's just what it is. You know,
Yeah.
is that fair? Is that
I,
like a fair way
I,
to look at that?
I think that's fair. I also can look at it just from a fan perspective, right? And going, I don't care. You have LeBron James and Anthony
Yeah,
Davis
yeah.
on your team, and I understand that they're unique. And in my opinion, when I hear that, like, that means there's a level of creativity needed to build around them
I agree.
that maybe the general manager just doesn't, like, isn't obtaining. I don't know. But again, like, when I hear that as a fan, it's good. Like, yeah, AD doesn't have a jump shot, and I do think that limits him in terms of the, like, I guess, offensive utility he can have. But you have maybe the best defensive player in the league. Like,
Yeah,
you can frame it in that way too. You have the best defensive player in the league. You have LeBron James on your team, who still averaged 27, 9, and 9. And we can kind of, you can put context into numbers that I won't do here. But like, you can 27, 9, and 9 is what it is, or whatever. Or I think it was 25. I have to go look. But
mhm.
and you have the best defensive player in the league who's still putting up 24 a game. Like, I think as a fan, I think it's very fair to look at the front office and go, I don't care. Like, you have a team, you know, the skill sets of those two players. Go build a team that is around that. Right, go get me defensive first players. Go get me, a guy who can go get a basket when LeBron needs to, like, share the offensive load. Can D'Lo and Austin do that in the regular season? I think so. I think to an extent. I think there's defensive limitations with that complicate, the efficiency of those lineups. But yeah, I think there's a creativity needed to build around them. Where when AD was this jump shooting, maven in the bubble, there's very little creativity needed around that, right? It's like you can surround them with me, you, and another guy, and
Yeah.
probably I'm not. That's unfair to the 2020 team, but like in terms of how special AD was, I think the build around that needs less creative, and also LeBron at 36 or whatever he was
Yeah.
at the time needs less creativity than him at 40, right? There's a
Mhm.
little bit more of ingenuity that's needed. And it's very clear this summer there was very little ingenuity that was dropped. It was very much yeah, we're gonna run this back with the team that made the conference finals 2 years ago, and see if they can rekindle that fire with a brand new coach.
Yeah.
And Vinay, like I'll say, like I'm different in this, but like if that was the messaging 6 months ago, I think I could have accepted an off season a little bit more. I don't know if fans would have, but if like there was a conversation like, hey, we did lose to Denver in 2 games. We invested in this team. We're into this team, but that wasn't the messaging at all. The messaging was we have 3 first-round picks to play with this summer and a bunch of
Yes.
movable
You're
salary.
right.
And so if you message me that and then this is your outcome, like you're giving me mixed signals. But that I guess that's a long-winded way to answer that. But I think that's where we're at. That's where LeBron and AD are at.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I think yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how this sort of thing pans out. I hope that Vando's injury situation is not as serious, and I hope
Mm-hmm.
that Wood's timetable ends up being like accurate. He gets back within 8 weeks as opposed to it being extended out longer. Good to hear that Gabe is still in good health. It's also good to hear that none of the other guys have had any injuries. Knock on wood, and it looks like Braun and AD made it out relatively unscathed through the Olympics, which was a concern for us too as well. And so everything turned out really well. So Roger, I guess we'll just see. I don't know
Yeah.
if there's really going to be more news that drops for the Lakers. This certainly not personnel wise or coaching wise.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully all the guys have enjoyed their off season. We'll start getting into training camp and stuff like that pretty soon with this team, and just see kind of how it goes, how it performs, and how the news comes out. But Raj, I mean, is there anything else? I know we never really got a chance to discuss Dalton. How he
Yeah.
fits into all of this. But I think maybe we'll just get an idea when we see how he performs in preseason, or we can kind of look at it in the next pod. But was there anything else that I missed? I mean, you've been doing your South Bay runs, you've been doing your Sparks runs. Anything that the Laker fans need to? There's no reason for Laker fans not to support the Sparks. I'm with you there. We should. Whenever I go to the games, I always tweet out, or not tweet out. I always Instagram. You should support your local gangs, and
Yes.
I think Sparks certainly need the support. We get Page, brother. The Sparks need a point guard so bad.
Oh, they
They just
do.
need a ball handler that can get them organized so
Yeah,
bad.
it's funny because I was standing next to the press room before you go in to speak to the coaches and the players, and Cameron Brink walks by, and you just forget how huge she is, and she's like
Yeah,
super
so
tall
big.
and
Yeah,
super lanky, right? And she was our fourth pick. So yeah, Sparks are missing a lot of players. I would encourage anyone to come out. It's still crypto, still same arena. Get very good seats there. And then the South Bay is at the El Segundo practice facility. So like if
yeah,
you've never been to that facility, that's a good like way to go there. Prices are cheap there as well. Again, a lot of NBA talent, like at least Lakers hope NBA talent. Maxwell Lewis, I just mentioned. Bronny James should be playing a lot of like if Bronny James is not playing a lot of games in the G League, then like he either is amazing starting out the season or the Lakers are just having him hang around with the team. But Bronny James should be there. My guy JHS, I think is still going to play some games in the G League as well. So yeah, if you come out and support Lakers season starting in a month, so we get to do this whole thing again. I'm tired, Vinay, of football dominating my
football, brother.
time.
It's gonna be football and politics until until like
That's
the
very
year
true.
turns right now. So yeah, it is what it is. Before we go, Rod, did you see that tweet where some anonymous account was just like, yeah, we've been watching JHS in practice and he looks like 15% better and his jumper's following and all that sort of stuff. Somebody sent it.
Mm-mm.
I think somebody sent it in the Discord. And I was just like,
Okay.
oh, where did you come up with the number of 15%? Like, this sounds like a very random tweet and a random outcome. Not, yeah, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But I was just like, no, I'm going to message Raj and I'm going to ask Raj if this is true because he's the only person who's really tapped in on JHS's progress and his success as a player. So
It,
unless Raj
you know,
tells me JHS looks great, I'm not believing anybody else,
what's
including
funny is
Lakers
I,
media.
it's funny. Obviously, we do the Lakers and all that stuff. I got more messages about Kendrick getting the Super Bowl nod than like anything else.
We, I don't have a. I'm an LA guy, so of course I always support
Yeah,
the local guy.
it's
But
funny.
I have no what's it called?
Yeah,
Okay, Raj, dude, this Kendrick Drake thing,
yeah,
Kendrick whatever thing, like, bro, please, the timeline's got to stop. Like, please just
yeah.
move
I
on
agree.
with your
Let's
lives.
move on. Let's
Yeah,
move on.
like this, Raj. You know what this is reminding me of? This is
Mm,
reminding me of. I wasn't on Twitter during that time. I came after that, but it's still a conversation now. It legit reminds me of the Cavs upsetting the Warriors in 2016, the 3-1 comeback,
mhm.
and like both the Steph fans and Bron fans like have never let it go. They've
Oh,
never
right.
moved on. Like it's like some strange trauma bond that both sides have that they share, even though one side won or one side, whatever your opinion is. Like this Kendrick Drake thing is now turning into that, dude. Like
Yeah,
anytime
it's
a name gets mentioned, it's just my feed is just like people arguing. It's like these people don't know you. Please stop. Like they don't know who you are. They're living their lives, and now the Super Bowl.
vicariously through them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
just want to enjoy my music, man. So
yeah.
congrats to Kendrick getting the Super Bowl nod. And yeah, just
Good for him,
football.
man.
Someone's trying to get me into football, Vinay. I was like, there's 17 games in football. The Lakers play 17 games in November. It's totally different. It's just different tier.
Yeah,
It's a different
yeah.
world, different
I
world.
don't. I don't even. I'm only in it for fantasy football, and even then, it's like week to week. It's hard for me to keep track. I thought Adrian Peterson was still in the league, and he's been gone for like a while. So, it is what it is. But yeah, Raj, this is a great catch up. Had some news that we covered and some sort of prospective thinking about stuff. I think the next pod we'll probably start trying to get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty
Yeah,
stuff that happens to surface. But as always, it was a pleasure. We thank all the folks that were able to join the pod. If you were able to join at the beginning, we appreciate you. If you weren't, you can always replay it back on my feed or Raj's tweet or the Lakers detailed Twitter account feed. Or you can just wait for me to upload it on Apple and Spotify, and you can rewatch it that way, the video version of this too as well. And if nothing else, we appreciate you. So whether you're listening to this now or you end up listening to this later, we hope you have a wonderful day. And if nothing else, we'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.
peace.